So yeah, hi everybody. My name is Matt Bussell. I'm 43 years old. Um, Live out here on the West Coast, and I've been involved with motocross racing pretty much my entire life. Started when I was 6, and it's just been a dream of mine ever since. And even though that dream of becoming a professional factory rider has since passed, I still have a huge passion for the sport and follow a lot of the sport regularly and try to be involved as much as I can. And with that, I found Jay here at Rack Racing, and he had a interesting, I guess you could call service perspective on mental coaching and guiding riders in a perspective that benefits them. And the first stuff I heard from Jay really got my attention and really believed that it could benefit me. This was about a year ago. For me, I was coming off a serious injury about 4 years before uh, 2020. I injured myself at a race really severely. Was both legs, both arms, nose, jaws jacked up pretty good. And obviously going through this sport at that with that experience that I have, being 43, it's not my first injury. I've had multiple injuries, but this one was the first one that was like, it put a lot of things in perspective. And being not alone, I had a lot of support from family and friends, but the rehab process and made me question, like, why am I doing the sport? Why am I risking the things that I risk? And at that time when I got hurt, I wasn't really enjoying the sport all that much. I was more just kind of in it just to go through this, and it was a habit for me. I wasn't enjoying it as much as I should have. And I looked at that and I was like, the risk versus reward isn't worth it. So I spent those 4 years after my injury just trying to find myself. Um, and like it's saying with Jay, with Rack Racing and hearing what he had to say, kind of ignited the passion for me again. And I didn't want to leave the sport of motocross with my last race, knowing that I was injured and I was hauled off in an ambulance. I have nothing to prove, and for me, it was just like it was more of a mental roadblock for me. I know I had some fear. I had a lot of emotions that I wanted to get over just to better improve my overall quality of life. And that big hiccup, that accident I had was a major hurdle, a major roadblock in the rest of my life. I'm extremely blessed with my life. I have a wonderful wife and an amazing son. And unfortunately, that accident was holding me back. So I started working with Jay, doing his coaching twice a week on the live Instagram, and just realizing I wasn't alone. Everybody has their ups and downs. Everybody has their struggles. And the biggest thing I got right away was putting everything in perspective. Like Jay with Rack Racing, he was like, hey, who cares if you get first or eighth? You're at a motocross race. Most of us aren't getting paid to do this. We're here to enjoy the sport. And if you truly aren't doing that and something's holding you back, you need to look at that. And he helped me identify that. He helped me just put everything in perspective. And with that perspective of like, I just have no expectations. I don't need to finish first or eighth. I just really want to go race and have fun and hang out and get that monkey off my back and just show to myself that if I put in the effort, if I put in the work, and I'm okay accepting with where I'm at with the sport, whether if it's a first or an eighth, that's my main goal. And so for the past year, that's what we've been doing. And I was fortunate enough to go through some some pretty big wake up calls. I was honest with myself. I took accountability. Jay helped me with, like just saying, hey, it is what it is. Everybody fails. Nobody's perfect. And that's kind of exactly, how I took it. Like failures aren't bad. Failures are good. We just have to learn from them. So, um, started working my butt off and just kept it fun with the sessions twice a week with Jay. It kept me on track, and started doing some night races here locally, Saturday night rep racing series in the vet class. And, it was fun. It was the first race back. I was full of nerves. Um, I just didn't know what to expect. And I kept going back like, okay, what does Jay say? No expectations. But that's pretty tough to do since, you develop that habit. I've been riding since I was 6, and us as motocross guys, we always put a lot on ourselves. And I think, we are the hardest on ourselves in the sport, which is a good and bad thing. But I think, when it's time to let go of the seriousness of the sport, you got to realize what it's all about. And that's Jay does an excellent job of doing that. So for me, yeah, just after my first moto of the first race that I was back in close to 5 years, I literally cried. It was just such an emotional dump. And it wasn't necessarily like the feeling of like getting the monkey off my back and, like saying, okay, I'm cool. I finally raced and got the fear out of the way. It was just the realization of I had fun, like for the first time in quite a while on my dirt bike racing. And that meant so much to me because the sport taught me so much. And I didn't want to leave in a negative side. And Jay with rack racing, I mean, his guidance, his support, and just the overall structure of his program, I can honestly say I think my experience would have been a lot different. I probably would have raced that one race and been so disappointed or like, oh, I'm not doing as good as I should have been, or I need to put in more work. And then when life gets in the way, you can't put in the work, and then it trickles down into your results. I probably would have just been, you know what, I'm good. But his view and his guidance of, just don't have any expectations. You are who you are with what you put in, the work you get out of it. And if you're okay with that, it makes the experience so much more enjoyable. So for me, that's the biggest takeaway that I got right away. Was my biggest hurdle was finding that joy in the sport that I love, and continue to do so. Just so many great things other than the no expectations. His guidance, to support and push is great. He motivates so well. He doesn't always put things kindly. So, you have to have a little bit of the ability to, like look at yourself honestly and say, okay, am I willing to do this? Am I willing to put in the work? And he's really great at motivating you with that and teaching you like, hey, it's in order for you to be somebody, you have to honestly ask yourself, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to put in the risk and the sacrifice and everything that it takes to do what you want to do? And honestly, that's really tough to do when you're by yourself or when you don't have a person like Jay from Rack Racing motivating you or guiding you along to do that. I wish I would have known Jay 20 years ago when I first got my pro license and started doing some outdoors and those sort of things, because everybody knows motocross is so mental. And Jay, I can't say enough about the mental aspect of what he brings to the table. And I could go on and ramble on here for another 30 minutes about all the great things, but yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. He's a great asset. He knows what he's talking about. He's got a lot of great tools, and I think whether if you race motocross, supercross, flat track, speedway, endurocross, any type of athlete, right? We need that mental support, that mental edge to help clarify. And Jay he has that ability to identify with athletes and what you're doing and what you're going through. So I can't say enough about rack racing and all the great support from Jay.